I'd like to call this meeting to order for the City of San Juan today, November 25th, 2014, at 6:04. We can all rise for the invocation. Council, can you lead us in the invocation?
Yes, Mayor. Heavenly Father, as a Thanksgiving holiday is upon us, I would like to begin by especially thanking the Lord for our families, loved ones, and friends. I would also like to thank you for our blessings and gifts you constantly bestow upon each and every one of us. Tonight, I ask that you bless each city commissioner and the mayor, and that you fill each one of them with the spirit of wisdom. May they act in accordance with your will, and may their decisions be for the well-being of all. Lord, please bless each and every one here tonight. All this we ask in your name. Amen.
Commissioner Garza, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You all may be seated. Do you have a public comment? Okay. Mr. Garcia, Eddie Garcia, you can come forward, please. A presentation of $5,000 dedicated to Games of Texas, excuse me, donation from the Far Sunrise Breakfast Kiwanis. Mr. Ponce.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. I'm Armando Ponce. I'm the new Parks and Recreation Director.
And welcome to the City of San Juan, Mr. Ponce.
Oh, thank you. Before I start, I just want to add that I'm very happy to be here and to be able to serve the City of San Juan. I'm proud to say that I was born and raised here in San Juan, and I look forward to working with the Commission, with the Mayor, and with all the staff and the constituents of San Juan. And I hope to do my best to my abilities to serve and give back to my community. So, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
And fortunately for me, my first presentation is to announce to the Commission and to the Mayor that the Far Sunrise Kiwanians have donated $5,000 to the Parks and Rec Department to cover expenses for the Summer Games of Texas that will be held this summer in College Station. And with your permission, we're asking that we could use these funds to pay for the travel, for the room and board, for the youth, and for the staff that will be attending. This will help us a great deal because the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board will be able then to use some of the funds that we have in that board to pay for scholarships. And this actual donation, again, will help to cover the cost for the summer games. So it is going to be a very good donation for the department. And I want to recognize one of our board members, our chairperson, Judy Tapia, who's here today. Yeah. And she was obviously informed about the donation. And I also want to present Mrs. Lomas, who's the president of the Kiwanis, and I believe Mr. Espinosa, who's the secretary, and they're here to present us with a check, ceremonial check. And if you could please come to the front.
Come forward. You got it easy, Mr. Ponce. The first presentation is money. That's good. Good evening. Yay, awesome.
We represent the Parks and Rec Kiwanis, and what we do is we raise funds and we give them back to the local community in many forms, and one of the ones we're doing today is to the San Juan Parks and Rec Department. So this is for their Bank of Texas for the year 2015 next year, $5,000 to the Parks and Rec Department. This is not the first time that we have given, I think, we've given a total of about 8,000 last year. 3 for a trip that they took to the games, and 5 we have given previously. So we're very happy. I live in San Juan. Mr. Almaguer is the vice president of the club. I'm the president of the Loma. Mr. Almaguer is the vice president, and Joyce Espinosa is our secretary. So we're here to present a check, although we have to do check.
Now we have to find a big bank.
We'd like to thank you for the donation and for keeping us in mind and for the continued assistance, and we look forward to continuing this partnership. Thank you, and please make sure to thank all the rest of the board members. Appreciate it very much. I will ask you for money, definitely. Mr. Ponce, you heard. The request is there. Shall we have the commission stand?
I was going to say.
Next item on the agenda, item B, presentation on the City of San Juan Consolidated Plan, assessing planning and development needs under the 28th year Urban County Program. Chief Gonzalez.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioner, good evening. Before you, you have a work plan summary sheet also for this year's project for 2015 from the Urban County Program. You have some proposed projects, and the proposed projects, some of the standard projects that we get every year. So this year, the available funds are $302,582. One of the main projects that we're proposing, I met with a city engineer, and one of the projects is for street improvements, and that street is San Antonio Street, South San Antonio Street from Ridge all the way to Moore Road. So this is just a proposed project that we have in place. Our next available date, or the next date that we need to propose for the urban county is by January 2nd. They're going to give us some comments on based everything that we submitted, especially that street improvement. And then by February 2015, next year, they're going to give us more or less a final work plan as to if they approved, didn't approve. So, but right now, it's just some proposed projects that we have in place and we submitted. So basically, the main street that we submitted was South San Antonio Street.
I think that's a very good choice, Chief. I know we've talked about it continuously here at the city meetings, and you have seen so many citizens come and speak about that. Of course, it's not the only street, but it's definitely one that has raised a lot of concerns from our residents over the time. I also want to ask you, one of the things that I know that we're able to do through the urban county is that we're able to pledge our funds that we get for 3 years in a row. We're able to actually ask for a loan with a commitment of our funding for 3 years to be able to get some funds ahead of time. I would say that that takes us close to $900,000. And we are able to do that. One of the things that I'm thinking is if we are putting in San Antonio, that we could also consider the same type of work on Sam Houston, from Stewart Road to Cesar Chavez. I don't know. I know that I don't have it before me, what the capital improvement that you do have, for what that would cost. Again, looking at it, what this is discussing and what I'm talking about is the same thing. We're talking of just an overlay. It's not a major improvement with sidewalks and curb and gutter in some of the areas. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mayor. Also, I do have a representative from Ronnie Munoz's office, Mark here also, but we did have back in November 25th, 2013, there was a workshop, and there was a priority list of street reconstruction
That is correct.
projects, and that's part of that. So maybe we need to revisit and prioritize those streets, and Sam Houston would be another street that we really need to look at.
I think it's important to look at that street as well. Definitely, I believe that in the next coming years, these monies need to be committed to streets. That is the primary complaint and concern of our residents. I definitely approve that San Antonio be considered, but I'd like for us to also look at the possibilities of looking at that loan where we can commit for the next 3 years those monies. If that's still we're able to do that. When is a time frame for that? And if we're able to get up to $900,000 worth now in today's dollars to do some improvements, almost $1 million, I would like to be able to explore that we might be able to include San Antonio Road, which are the main thoroughfares, and I think we still need to have a workshop to talk about our residential streets so that we can start preparing to see how to tackle that. But I'm definitely think this is a good proposal, Chief.
We'll do, Mayor. I'll look into that as well.
Chief,
Yes.
the other thing I wanted, I didn't see attached here what typical section they're proposing, so obviously with this cost, we're only talking about overlay, but this road has different widths throughout. Particularly at Ridge Road, you're looking at about 30 feet back to back, and then as you get to Moore Road, you're looking at more like 60 feet back to back. So what are we proposing? Just overlaying the existing? Are we going to put any curb and gutter? As I understand, on the east side, there's curb and gutter. On the west side, there's no curb and gutter until you get to, just before you get to Judean Lane. And so are we talking about potentially doing curb and gutter on the west side of that. And then I know that there's, proposed developments in the future, and how's that going to play into that as well? Have we considered that, or have we discussed that with Mr. Cruz?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, we have, Mr. Ronnie Cruz does have a plan of action.
Okay.
This is just a proposed project. We still haven't gotten to all the details and
Okay,
specs on
we're
it.
waiting to see if
Yes.
it's eligible for funding.
Yes,
Before we move to the
once
next-
we get that that comment back from Urban County, then we're gonna move forward
Okay.
and draft all the specs and details and so forth.
Okay, fantastic.
This to show that the one that's being proposed is from Ridge Road to Moore Road. So that's the area.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And so-
Actually, Mayor, it might go a little bit beyond Moore Road, about
Might go all the way
100
to the
feet or
canal?
so. Yeah, right
Right up to
after
the
that,
canal.
because that's an area that needs to be
that-
repaired as well. So,
Very good. So you'll keep us, we're submitting this, and then we'll be waiting for the feedback.
correct.
And then we could go ahead and also talk with Diana regarding the loan.
no, I sure will.
I would
I sure will.
appreciate that, get that information to
I'll
us.
take care of them.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any other questions?
Do we need to vote to submit this? No?
I mean-
Okay, fantastic. Just check.
All right. Under item C, presentation on the proposed increase on the city's fees, Mr. Gomez. We just got these. We just got these. Ma'am, we'll take questions afterwards, ma'am.
Pero on the one that passed on the pothole, it's just real brief. Who's in charge of Cesar Chavez? Alamo or?
It's San Juan Road, ma'am. And if you have any questions, if you want to wait for us after the meeting, we'll be able to speak to you. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Mr. Gomez?
Basically, to pick up from the previous conversation we have in the previous meeting, we have prepared some slides for you to review, and also I passed some information a few minutes ago. And also, we included on the fee comparison, the income projections and cost analysis on the planning department fees. As I mentioned before, our goal is to visit the city fees, as I previously stated to you. Last time they were updated, that was back in 2009, and therefore, we wanted to bring it to you, maybe look at those numbers. We have proposed just new fees, and as you can see, are we gonna see the revenue? It will make some of the difference. The first slides, we have the comparison, the fee comparison. This is the numbers I showed you in the previous meeting. The electrical subcontractor fee, we're getting $50 per license, and we're proposing $60. The occupational fee is $30, and we're proposing $40. And reinspection, we're currently charging $30, and we're proposing for $40, and of course, we have the different cities. For instance, on the reinspection, it's $45 from Westlaco. My calendar is $40, and we want to increase to be, within the average. The zone change request currently is $200. We want to increase it to $300. And as on that particular one, Westlaco is $300 one, and so we will be in par with Westlaco. And conditional special use permit is currently $200, and we would like to increase it to with $300. That's our proposed fee. And our variance request is currently $200, and we proposed to $300. Subdivision application is currently $400, and we would like to increase that, a proposed fee of $500. And as you can see, Mission and Alamo, they have a variable cost. For instance, Alamo, they have $100 plus $10 per acre. So it could be factor in, it could be a lot more than that, than we could usually charge. On the second page, we have the direct cost planning fees. On this particular slide, this is direct cost that we gather tied to the licenses. Of course, we have a direct cost. We will not be able to recap, but basically, what it entails on the electrical subcontractor license fee, It's $17, and that includes, on average, about an hour of administrative staff to generate that particular permit and license. And so that would be a total of $17. Occupational license is the same process. It's about an hour of work, and it's $17, and that includes wages and benefits. Re-inspection fee, it's $17, and the total is $17, which includes about the same, about an hour staff work. On the next three items, zone change request, conditional use permit, and the variance request, those on the wages and benefits, there's about the same amount of activity as far as the hours involved. Approximately, it's about 7 hours to generate those permits and variance requests and zone charge request. So that equals about $190, including benefits. And all those items include advertising. And
In the
newspaper-
190, Mr. Gomez, it includes the 90 and the 30? Addition to.
Addition to, yes. The wages and benefits and then the advertising, and also the postage and supplies. So that combined is 290, those three items. And that's basically what entails to generate the zone charge. And in those three items is the same amount of, amount of work that it takes the staff to generate those permits and request. And the last item, that's a subdivision application. That is a lot of activity and a lot of manpower that it takes for staff to generate that. Just to give you information, it takes about 170 hours on average from the utility staff, and approximately about 7 hours from the fire department staff, and about an hour in administrative staff. And so that's the wages and benefits. So therefore, the number, that's at $3,049. That's how much it costs the city for a subdivision application. On the next slide, we have the planning, the actuals.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gomez. On that particular subdivision application, particularly on the expense of it, you're basing that on a typical residential neighborhood?
We're basing it on,
I guess what I'm saying is that there's times when we'll have a subdivision application for, and I think we did it recently, a 3-acre, plot of land that was subdivided into 4 lots. Would you say that would be the same expense? It's an average. On average.
more questions? On the third slide, we have the actuals and projection fees analysis. The first permit, the electrical subcontractor license, this is the actual revenue for 2013. It was $1,850. And the revenue for fiscal year 2014, it went up to $2,300. And the actuals, that's the total number of licenses that it was, I guess they were issued in 2014 fiscal year end. And so the fourth column on the numbers are located is the proposed new fee, which means if we keep implementing the new numbers from 46, that was the action 2014, that will give us additional revenues of $460. And so the total revenue will be $2,760. And occupational license the actuals was 144 licenses that were issued in 2014, so that was 4,320. And the difference, if we propose in effective a new fee increase, it will be 1,440. And the reinspection fee, the difference will be 1,110 based on 111. And the zone change request, out of 20 actuals in 2014, there'll be $2,000. The conditional use permit, 21 actuals, that will be 6,300 with the proposed new fee, and that was additional revenue of 2,100. And so we have all the items, and the total difference would be 9,810. And so it's somewhat material, and so at this point, we want to present the planning fees, and basically what we trying to do is to revisit those numbers and possibility update those for future, revenues. And also, on the next meeting, we would like to present also the parks and recreation fees and also the alcohol fees. But at this point, this is what we have on the planning side.
Mr. Gomez, first I want to tell you, thank you for putting this together. Exactly what I was asking for, and I think that now it makes sense that it's not arbitrary. You actually are fixing some kind of reasoning behind the reason to increase, and then you also provided what it's going to do. So it's not like we're trying to, pave streets with this, that we're just trying to make sure that we're not losing money as we're providing the services as well. So I appreciate that. And it does make a lot more sense to me. Thank you.
And I think that the big thing that, when we talked about this at the last time, that we really wanted to see, and I mentioned it, is what actually are we gaining by making this change? So that we can, is it really going to make a difference? And so I think that's helpful, but I think it's also helpful for everyone to be able to see, exactly how much it costs us to do this kind of work, because sometimes that's where it gets lost in translation. People don't understand, why are we paying so much? We're paying so much because that's what it costs us to do the work. And so I think this type of reporting is important when we make these decisions, so that, the average everyday taxpayer can see, this is where the money is going, and this is how much it costs, more importantly. So I thank you for that. And I know that we're going to be talking about the other with
Parks and recreation?
no, utilities, when we talk about trash collecting. And so I think that if we can maybe generate, Mike, a report similar to this, it might be a little bit helpful, more helpful, so that we can tell exactly what exactly are we paying, or how much it's costing us, because it costs us to do it, and then we're paying in addition in tipping fees and things of that nature. So maybe if you all could maybe coordinate to produce the same kind of report on this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. This is something that you're going to put as an action item. You're not asking us to take any action tonight.
No, it's just basically a presentation.
The only thing I am going to say is that one item that sticks out, that 3,000 for the subdivision, maybe we want to visit that and find out, how efficient maybe we can make it. If it's costing us that much to produce something and we're charging $500, is there something else that maybe another way that we can streamline it more, so we're not investing that kind of time, and the difference and the gap isn't that much? Maybe that's something that you can visit with Mr. Cervantes. I would appreciate that. Okay. Okay. That would be great. That might make more sense for the folks that we don't have the smaller versus our larger ones, and we might recoup some of that. Okay. Sure. Would appreciate that. Maybe you can, when we finally do visit on the final product, you can bring that issue up.
We use the same format. I know we have another departments that we like to present, and we're going to use the cost and also the projections.
Cost analysis is awesome.
And so for you to make a decision, because I think if we're well aware of what the cost is, we need to at one point, we have to look at that and make a decision. So we'll follow the same format.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Next is the presentation and update on the water plant number 2. Mr.
Park Ramirez, I'm sorry.
Mr. Ramirez, I'm sorry. Yes, sir, if you can update us on that.
Mayor, Commission, good evening, first of all.
Good evening.
I do believe you guys have a an update in your packets, and I'll go through that a little bit and try to summarize the most critical points that, to bring you up to date on this project. Uh, Of course, the most important critical dates are the notice to proceed, which is the time that the contract actually starts for this project, substantial completion date, and the final completion date, which we have 660 days to complete this project, which is plenty of time. So far, the contractor has used about 20% of the time already, so we're 4 months into this job. There's still approximately 529 days as of last Friday, so that's about 80% time that they have available. To date, they have not provided any actual billing, or nothing has been paid on this job yet. We have had some issues concerning paperwork, but last Thursday, we did have a meeting at City Hall with the interim manager and the contractor to kind of address some of those issues with the contractor, let them know that we are concerned about it, that some of the commission has expressed concern as far as the progress of the job as well. They understood the point that we're trying to make, and they're willing and they committed to moving forward and providing all the paperwork that is required, not only by us, but also by Texas Water Development Board, which is the funding agency for this job. They also keep tabs on what we do and how the progress progresses. Having said that, so we're hoping that the contractor moves forward, submits all the paperwork that's required, and everything from this point on moves.
When we awarded the contract, that was a commitment from the very beginning. What's the difference between what they're committing to do now that they haven't done the past 4 months?
That's kind of what the question was to them as well for us. It's not typical to have a contractor wait so long to start submitting a lot of this paperwork that's required. Usually, contractors will get that in soon so that they get paid and so on and so forth. But we don't have an answer for you per se from them. Actually, the owner of the company was supposed to be present today for this meeting. He mentioned that day that he wanted to personally be here and provide responses to the commission
Is he
on their
here?
behalf. I don't see anybody from Texas Desk on, but if somebody's out there, please, so no, I don't think they're here today. But from our perspective, hopefully they do come through. We'll continue to stay on them. If they don't submit the paperwork, if the process doesn't flow as it should, we'll definitely bring it to their attention again, bring it to the city attention, and try to have another meeting with them and try to see how we can get this project moving as fast as we can. I will say that as for the timeline of this project, the critical path, if you will, even though we have a preliminary schedule from them that they provided actually at that meeting, the critical path of the project will go through the equipment, which is the process equipment from CBNI. So what their claim has been so far off the record is, that we really can't be out there doing much because we got to wait for this equipment to be on site so we can move forward. It may be true, some of it, like we mentioned to them, unless we have something in writing from them, it's hard for us to justify that. And that's what we've asked them so far to do, justify their actions out there.
And I guess my question is, we've entered into a contract for a certain amount, and if, once the process begins, and let's say that in next month or 2 months, and prices begin to change, I mean, is there an understanding that we're not going to do a change order if having to do with that type of issue, if things could have been addressed early on? And while they may say it's the paperwork at the beginning, every time that we're delayed, they're still now 4 months behind. I think that's got to be really important for us to be keeping tabs on, because I'm not sure what factor can change, and we're now a year down the road, and suddenly there's a influx. Something happens with the gas prices and triggers something else going up in price, and we're going to be requested to look at any possible change orders. And I just want to make sure that right now we're looking so into the future, that's not going to be the case.
Yes, and actually, Mayor, to address some of that concern that we had as well, the major components of this plan is really the metal structures out there. And metal, as you know, prices fluctuate all the time and increase consistently. And actually, we did have that concern also from CBNI, which are the people manufacturing that equipment. Luckily, that contract has been resolved, if you will. So CBNI is moving forward. They have ordered the materials. They're starting to put that together. But here again, we go back to the same thing of the paperwork as far as payment, that they can't get paid. And eventually, it can't be an issue is CBNI saying, well, we already ordered this material, but the contract's not paying us, what do we do? But we are documenting everything that's going on so far from our standpoint, and we're also providing a lot of this information to the Texas Water Development Board representative, which is Mr. Juan Santana, and he has full knowledge of what's going on. And when it comes to those issues at the end, like you're saying, which a lot of times happens, we do get a lot of assistance from Juan Santana and the Texas Water Development Board saying, hey, guys, we've been warning you from day one, get going, get going, get going. You guys didn't. So the city does have a leg to stand on and say, we can't deny that change order request if it ever comes up, because they have had plenty of time, and just for whatever reasons, they decided not to act upon it.
Mr. Ramirez, also the other thing too that I'd like a little clarification. When they submit for payment, they're doing that to the Water Development Board, is that correct?
It actually comes through us first.
Right.
We review it, but yes.
You review.
it-
I guess what I meant by that is the check will be cut by the Water Development Board. And I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they also have their checks and balances before they pay out as well. And they would also have some say in any change orders, is that correct?
Correct. Actually, the final approval of the change order has to be done by the.
I-
Texas Water
if
Development
we
Board,
have-
If there is any
yeah.
change order, yes, sir.
Who was present at that meeting?
At the meeting, it was Cruz Hogan, Ronnie Cruz, Orlando Cruz, myself, interim city manager, and the owner of Texas Descon, Doug Smith, one of their project superintendent, Shad, I can't remember his last name. And then they also had an engineer that works for them as well, Darío Guerra. So, we felt that they had plenty of representation at that meeting to kind of, make a point that they are trying to move forward. Hopefully that is the case.
Mr. Ramirez, one of the other concerns that was mentioned as well was who is going to be the on-site go-to person. Was that question answered? I think that's really important as well.
The project supervisor that was attending that meeting, is he the one that's overseeing the whole project? Or is there like several supervisors for each different?
Correct. So what they explained to us, because we had the same concern, we had, people going in and out and not somebody there all the time. Usually what we want on a project this size, we want to have somebody, all the time there that if something happens, we know we go to that person and ask questions or express our concerns. What they have stated at that meeting was that they have a superintendent who's going to be there 100% of the time, which is Chad. And then they'll have a project manager, which is the engineer, Mr. Darío Guerra, who will be there at least for the majority of the time of this contract, present at the site as well. Eventually, as the project, is closing to the end, he'll be removed off-site, but Chad should stay there all the time.
Mr. Ramirez, Descon has many projects going.
Yes.
I'd like to know, and I don't know how we can find out, are all those delayed? Or are we being delayed so they can finish some of their other projects?
On the other projects, I do know that they were recently awarded also by the Texas Water Development Board another project, which is another water treatment plant in the city of Edinburgh. That one's still in the early stages of the award and being awarded to them. So I'm not sure that's, it's the delay in that project is as significant as it is to our project here. But I do know that Texas Water Development Board is keeping a close eye on this project because, eventually they could end up making a decision on that project based on this project alone. As far as any other projects that they may have going other than that one, I'm not really sure what they're.
They have some in San
I'm
Antonio.
sure I'm sure they're,
So they
I
have
know they're
some
a
here
big
locally.
company and they have a lot of projects locally. But I don't know to what extent, how far behind they're on those or not, to be honest with you.
At the end of the day, if there's, I guess we'll call it the nuclear option at this point. When we get to the point where we say, you know what, we can no longer proceed, is that, at that point, is the Water Development Board going to be involved in that process? Are they going to say, well, hold on? And I tell you, just because we've had an experience with a contractor here in the past, and the funding agency really kind of kept us from taking action, I guess is my best way to describe that. Would the Water Development Board at that point say, well, hold on, we need to give them a chance? We need to give them more of a chance, we need to give them more time. And then to that, beyond the 529 days, do we have a penalty clause as well?
Yes, I'll answer the last question first. There is a penalty clause in the contract. I'm not sure, I don't recall the numbers right now. Going back to the Texas Water Development Board, obviously I can't speak for them, as to what they would want to do. Most of the time, both us as engineers and the Texas Water Development Board will try to work everything out and try to stay within the contract and finish out the job as it is. But if it does get to a situation where, contractor's not moving for whatever reason, we can't get the project moving forward, if we, the city, make the recommendation that it's time to move on, I don't think the Texas Water Development Board can deny that option. At the end of the day, it still is a contract between the city and the contractor.
Okay.
And I just definitely keep reporting, because we inevitably are paying interest on our loan, and we're paying. And so whatever happens, we have to continue paying, but we need to show something for it, so.
Yes, ma'am, and, one of the things that I'll point out, and again, they did submit one pay application, which is not the typical process. Usually we get a schedule of values, which details how they're breaking down their project, how they want to get paid. We never got that submitted to us. When they submitted the pay application, it's like one in a bundle, so, we kind of, we have been reviewing all that paperwork so far, and, but having said that, until they have an approved pay application from us that we agree with, because we don't want them to upfront all the money on the project, they can't get paid, and they understand that. So it's a good thing to a certain degree that they haven't gotten paid in any kind of money from this project yet, because, we can't justify anything that's been done out there yet. But we'll definitely keep a close eye on all of that paperwork and keep track of it, keep records, so that if something does happen, we do have all the proper documentation to, to back us up.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, ma'am.
Under 6, public hearing ordinances. A, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance for the rezoning request, Track 1 from single-family residential district to general business district of the south 70 feet of the north 300 feet of an 18.75 acre tract of land, being all of Lot 6, Block 7 of the east 7.35 acres of Lot 7, Block 7, John Klosner subdivision. Track 2 is from a single-family residential district to multifamily residence district of the south 2,280 feet of an 18.75 acre tract of land, being all of Lot 6, Block 7, and the east 7.35 acres of Lot 7, Block 7, John Klosner subdivision, all are located along the west side of the main drain ditch between Olana, Eldora Avenues, as requested by Dora Alicia Lara. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, Mayor City Commission, good evening. Ms. Lara is proposing to own 18.76 acres in order to build a commercial retail plaza along Nolana Avenue and an apartment subdivision for 4 plexes from the proposed plaza south to Eldora Road. The north 230 feet of the property is already zoned general business district along the south side of Nolana Avenue. The property owner will be required to subdivide the property in order to do any improvements to it, and the extension of Oblate Avenue as a collector roadway will be required during the subdivision process as for the adopted Hidalgo County thoroughfare plan. The surrounding zonings consist of single-family residential, general business, and multifamily residential districts. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning request since the progression of multifamily residential zoning is acceptable from commercial zoning, and there are existing multifamily residential zones areas nearby east of this property. In addition, there are no residential single-family subdivisions immediately adjacent to this property that may be negatively impacted by higher residential densities. During their meeting of November 6th, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the request with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and open this at 6:48, and I invite the public, anyone present who wishes to make any comment for or against this project. Any members of the audience that wish to make any comments for or against? I'd like to open it to the commission. Are there any questions?
This- Tract one is just, it's just a little piece that got, I mean, I don't understand how that,
What happened is, the city did some zoning along Nolana.
I see.
So on Nolana, and then Texas widened the road and took away some of that zoning to be part of Nolana Avenue. So what you have left from the original zoning is 230 feet from north to south. And they want, for the plaza, they wanted to have 300 feet of depth, the plaza, which is the normal depth for a plaza. Therefore, they need 70 feet additional commercial zoning,
And that's
which is
the-
tract one.
That's tract one, okay.
Yes, and then the rest, the developer wants to build a subdivision for apartments.
And is there going to be some sort of, and I don't see this on here in the report, any kind of buffer between the commercial and the?
Yes, that's a subdivision requirement. Right now, they're just processing the zoning. When they come back for the subdivision, that's when we're gonna have the buffer requirement. And that actually is done at the time of building permit. What we do is we put a note in the plat requiring the buffer, and then when they come in to build the apartments, that's when they have to build the buffer.
So tract one currently is single-family residential?
Yes, both tracks right now are single-family residential.
Okay, and what they're requesting is tract one to be general business and tract two to be multifamily.
That's correct.
Mr. Cervantes, where is Ob Road on that?
I have a new toy, so I'm gonna.
Good.
Oblate is in the thoroughfare plan.
Yes, but where
so
is it there?
It's
Which-
gonna be right against the ditch, along there.
And its property is city property at this point?
No, it's when they come in for the subdivision, they're gonna have to dedicate the road and then build. So that's gonna be the north and south collector for the subdivision and also for the city. So they will dedicate the right of way and build the road.
So the dedication that they have will be only from their property? We're not taking anything from the irrigation?
No.
Because I know that they usually don't.
No, the dedication comes from the developer's property.
Okay, so if we're looking at the tract of land, is that the size that it will be? And already you've taken into account oblate?
No, the
Do
future
they know
oblate
that?
is part of this property right now. When the subdivision comes in, that's when the dedication of oblate takes place. So right now, it remains her property. If the subdivision happens, that's when that road gets dedicated and paved.
Okay.
And then it belongs to the
To
city.
us, right. Now, when we talked about the multi-use, multifamily, I think it was a fourplexes. Now, where would the ingress and egress be for those? Because if you're going to put a buffer for the commercial, and it's a plaza, so I'm thinking it might be facing the street more than likely and against the main wall against the north side. Where are we thinking, and if we're looking fourplexes, how many fourplexes would fit in tract two? And if they fit in tract two, where would they be coming in and out so that we're not creating these
The-
folks to go through
The
a commercial?
proposal is to have one entrance right there off of Eldora, and then the other entrance will be on Olana. So you will be able to access from either, yeah. So with Oblate Street there will be good circulation to the north and to the south to get in and out. And the buffer, a buffer will be required when the plaza gets built. There will be a buffer there between the commercial and the multifamily. And then when the apartments get built, there will be a buffer all along there.
Now, I can't tell what size there would be, and I think of the narrowness on the fire side. We're not looking at that yet because we don't know how they're going to build it. But if it were to be a typical fourplex and a typical street, is that sufficient spacing for a fire, since it's a fourplex, to be able to come in and still provide for parking?
Well, the fire is very involved in the process. So from the very preliminary subdivision plat, the fire department reviews it. And so if there are issues, they're very quick to point out issues of concern. The fire department gets very involved in all,
Oh,
in
we-
all
we-
projects.
We saw that.
So I'm sure they're going to
Just,
comply.
I guess just to, as they're looking at it, considering initially, because they're asking for kind of zoning, so that you're looking ahead of time, the investment they're going to make, that they'd be able to actually go in and do that.
Right now, it's just the concept. Was the concept of the project acceptable? And if you approve the concept, then they're going to come in for the subdivision. But without the zoning, the project ends.
Are there any other questions? If not, I'd like to go ahead and close this hearing at 6:54. Is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance for the rezoning request of Track 1 from Single Family Residence District to General Business District to the west 1,249 feet of the north 5 acres of the south 20 acres of the north 31.85 acres of Lot 16, Block 8, John Klosmer subdivision. Track 2 is from a single-family residential district to general business district of the west 1,249 feet of the north 5 acres of the south 15 acres of the north 31.85 acres of Lot 16, Block 8, John Klosmer subdivision, all located at 2604 and 2702 North Raul Longoria Road as requested by Stephen M. Gano. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, Mr. Gano is proposing to rezone the west 1,249 feet of two 5-acre tracts of land from single-family residence district to general business district in order to build a storage unit facility. The first 300 feet from the Raul Longoria Road to the west is already zoned general business district, and the rest of the property is zoned single-family residential. The property owner will be required to subdivide the property in order to do any improvements to it. The surrounding zonings consist of single-family residential, general business, and multifamily residential districts. Staff recommends approval since both tracts of land have frontage on Raul Longoria Road, which is a major city thoroughfare. All properties with frontage on Raul Longoria Road are conducive to commercial development. During their meeting of November 20th, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the rezoning request.
Go ahead, I'd like to open this public hearing at 6:56. Are there any members of the public that have any comments for or against? Can you come forward to the microphone and state your name for the record, please?
My name is Steve, and I'm the applicant, and if it's all right, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the project.
Go ahead.
What we want to do. I've got some handouts, photographs of the projects that we've just completed that are almost identical. The first page that you see there is the survey of the property. It's two long, narrow 5-acre tracts, and as stated, they front on Raul Longoria. The first 300 feet are already zoned commercial, and the rest of it from there back to the drainage ditch is residential. The second page is a conceptual site plan of it. You'll see on the right-hand side is Raul Longoria, and you can see the first phase 1 is about the first 5 inches of that project. Now, we own Storage Depot, and I don't know if you have seen these around, but we have 32 of them in the Rio Grande Valley in Central Texas. And the front across here is small retail spaces, and then the ones you see on the right-hand side towards the top of the property are what we call our contractors center. And if you turn to page 3, you'll see this is the one we just opened in Port Isabel. It was completed about 30 days ago. We did a soft opening, and then just last weekend had our grand opening. You can see the small spaces on the front, the storefronts, and the standing seam metal canopies above them. The next page, page 4, is another photograph of that same Port Isabel Center. Page 5 is the one we completed in Los Fresnos earlier this year. You can see that the elevation is virtually identical. And then 6, this shows our office. This is in particular in the Los Fresnos facility. we have on-site management, and the way these work is this. The front spaces are about 10 by 20, 200 square feet. We can have them, we can lease them as 200 square feet or combine two of them into 400 square feet. They're incubator spaces for small businesses, and what we've found is that, you know, new startup businesses, people that want to start a jewelry shop, that kind of thing, they will lease these spaces. They can expand then and take in the 10 by 10 climate control storage unit behind it, or they can expand by leasing an adjacent unit. I don't know, the closest one to y'all is, we just completed one in February in South Far, in front of the Jaime Escalante Middle School there. And it was very popular. The 26 retail spaces we had there were leased before we opened.
Wow.
And we maintain a waiting list of about 10 people for those. Now, behind the retail spaces, the rest of that building is climate controlled self-storage, and just like you see anywhere. And then, of course, the rest of the layout you see is, you know, some climate and a mix of non-climate storage. We use what we call a fortress concept. The outside perimeter wall of this is concrete block. It's painted, and you can see in, let's see, one of the pictures. Well, you can kind of see in picture 5 on the left-hand side what the exterior block walls of our building look like.
The yellow wall?
Yeah, it's beige with a green stripe on it. Those are sort of our standard company colors.
How high is that wall, sir?
Well, this one in the retail is, retail building's higher. It's about 18 feet. But the wall, for example, the perimeter wall that forms the buffer with the residential, in this case, is 10 feet. And so from the other side of that wall, what it looks like is a 10-foot concrete block wall, like a fence, really. And our roofs slope into our property, so they don't see the roof either. Someone on the other side would see the block wall with a metal, extruded metal cap on top of it. Like I say, we have a number of these. We're very interested in coming into San Juan. We have found this site that we like, and we're asking for approval for the zoning. And in the planning and zoning meeting, someone asked how many jobs we thought this might create. And we have 18 of these incubator retail spaces, and they typically have 2 employees. So I think those would generate roughly 36 jobs in the community. We have 2 permanent full-time people on the facility, and then we have maintenance staff that share with other facilities. And then the contractor centers, they typically generate 2 or 3 jobs each. So we may be talking 39, 40 jobs on a permanent basis. Of course, during the construction period, it takes about 6 months to build one of these. We may have as many as 50 temporary jobs during the construction phase. So other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Colonel, you said 18, in this facility, it's 18 spaces that you were looking at
The retail.
retail to be available?
Yeah, retail, and, yeah.
And then phase 1 is, you're looking to build first and then expand all the way to the back?
Yeah, typically how we do this is we'll build phase 1, and phase 1 is about 49,000 square feet of building area. And it takes about 2 years typically to lease that up. When we near 80% occupancy, we'll plan and come in and build phase 2. And again, that may take another 2 years to lease up. And then at that point, we'll start working on developing the rest of the property. We've shown a concept of what we might do there, additional contractor center spaces towards the back and some warehousing. But honestly, we'll be responsive to the marketplace 5 years from now. So
Sure.
Somewhere down the line I was reading, and as far as security goes, they mentioned about 16 cameras.
Yeah.
Is
and
that enough cameras for this, you know?
Well, for phase 1.
Oh, okay.
At phase 1, what we have, the way we have a keypad, anyone who's a tenant has to enter their code to be able to enter the facility. There's an electronic gate that rolls back, and then they can drive into the facility. The door that's an entry to the common restrooms in the retail building also has a keypad, and they have to have a key code for the restrooms. We have 16 cameras in Phase 1 on the various buildings, and some on the climate control. We have some in the hallways to make sure there's no problems there, and then the rest are in the drives so you can see all around it. And of course, there's a video recorder. Typically, we record all the video on a 16-track recorder and for 2 or 3 weeks in case there's a problem, and then it begins to record back over itself.
Of these, and I've seen a lot, how many do you all operate?
We have 32 right now. We have, the most recent one was the Port Isabel I showed you, though we have one under construction in Alamo on 907 South Alamo that we expect to finish end of December. We were going to finish in about 2 weeks, but the weather's delayed us. But you can actually, it's not very far, you can drive by and see it, and you can see the front elevation. We've got the retail building is up, parking lot's going in, we're putting in our approach and sidewalks right now, so.
It looks like a very good project, sir.
Thank you.
And I like the landscape I've seen. I think that's extremely important as well.
Okay.
And the possibility of bringing businesses in addition to, I think it's a great idea to market your business. Is there any other comments or questions? If not, is there a motion for approval as, I'm sorry, I need to close this public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, go right ahead, sir, I'm sorry. They're still open. Yes, sir.
Our property backs up to where their 10-foot wall is
Okay.
going to be. As we now look out our bedroom and our kitchen.
Get closer to the microphone to make sure it
We're going
picks
to be
up.
looking at a 10-foot wall.
Okay,
All right, so I mean, our house is about 4 meters, about 12, 15 feet from the back of our lot. So now we're going to have a lovely view, where now it's like trees and stuff. I'm all for expansion and all that. The only suggestion I would have is building track 2 first, away from the residences. You know, the other side of the property, develop that first and see how that goes, and maybe allow the people, the residences that back up to that property are not going to be infringed upon as fast. You know, it'll take several years rather than immediately. Just a thought from us. I mean, I'm okay with it. I mean, it's been vacant since we've lived there. Just a little concerned about the hours of operation. I believe he said it was going to be 24-hour access.
There's 24-hour access, but again, only people with key codes.
Right. I was by the Las Milpas one. I've been over there several times in the last week since the last meeting, just to check it out, check out the lights at night, because there are lights that are burning 24/7. Some of them will probably be lighting up the back of our house, unless the wall blocks it, which would be fine. But that has an hour of operation up until 11 o'clock, and then I believe there's no access after 11 in Las Milpas. I would suggest that maybe for the interest of the residences, that we also would have that consideration and no access after 11 o'clock. After all, it is a business, and I think it should close at one point during the evening. You know, otherwise you're going to have people going in and out all night. Probably not, like you said, it's probably not something that people do on a regular basis, go and look at their junk there in the middle of the night, you know. But, you know, but still in consideration, because we are taking away from a residential zoning to a commercial zoning, I think the residences that back up to the property should have some consideration. I'm all for it, I don't care, you know, but those are my wife and my considerations.
I appreciate you bringing those, and I know that Mr. Regano's heard those, and so there's anything that you've had in your facilities that, you know, you might be able to take into consideration. You've heard it from one of our residents.
Because like in Las Milpas, the entrance gate is on the right side, which would be the north side of the property, which is where the residences are. I would just suggest maybe put that gate entrance on the south side, where there are no residences backing up to that, and then any traffic coming in and out really wouldn't be a hindrance to the people that border the property. Might be a little architectural hocus pocus, but I'm sure it'd be doable, you know. So.
Well, let me say that typically our entrances are for the fire department, and they like to be able to come in and go out without having to back up their fire trucks, and they like to come in and be able to circulate through our project and then back out. And all our drives and approaches are designed with that in mind, and regarding the lights that he was talking about, we do have security lighting at night, and they come on at dark and they go off at daylight. But what they are is they shine inward on the drives,
Okay.
and they're basically wall caps. And so from the residential side, there'd be no lights in the back of the building shining into their yard. It would be on the other side of the building shining into our drive. Now, we do have some lights on the front on the retail section, but they're not very bright lights. They're just enough for really safety or anyone not in the parking lot.
What about his recommendation about hours of operation?
Well, we vary our hours of operation. We have some facilities that do close, we deny access after 11, and then we have some like Portisco where the customers have expressed that they want to go get their stuff at any time. And so we really set those hours responsive to the customer's requests. If we have enough customers that want 24-hour access, we'll permit. But I have to say, part of the reason for the key code is we can keep track of who's coming and going, and when and how often, and what the patterns are.
Yeah.
And very few people come late at night. You know, after about 9 or 10 o'clock, we rarely get anybody coming. But the few that may really need to get their stuff.
And I'm sorry, you said your name real fast and I wasn't.
Bruce Hepburn, Hepburn. One more question. I was just wondering how far back, because the one in Las Milpas, I was in there, like I said, a couple times. You come in, it's got the circular driveway, and then it's got the residential buildings, and then behind that is the temperature-controlled storage units. How far back from Raul Longoria will be the end of that building right there? Because that's basically where most of the traffic will be, I would assume.
Well, I
How-
mean, we have, this is a preliminary site plan, and we'll be getting.
Mr. Hepburn, you can look at this and it might be helpful to answer your question.
We'll be complying with the city setback requirements, and typically we have a 30-foot parking lot in front of these, and 18-foot parking spaces on each side, so that's 36. We'd be, face of our building would be at least 66 feet from the back of the street, Ronald Longoria. And then that building is, I believe, 60 feet deep typically. So the back of that building would be roughly 120-something, 126 feet back of Longoria Street.
Thank you.
No, you
Okay,
can, if
thanks.
it'll help.
What? I mean, another question. Does this, like a commercial building, does that adversely affect, like, my property taxes? Anybody, I mean, or is that's something for the assessor's office? to
That's, yeah.
determine? I mean, that's a concern too, that our value of our property would go down based upon a commercial.
I don't know that I can answer that, or I don't know if anybody can answer that here, but that would definitely be a question for your assessor. But I don't know, Mr. Cervantes, do you have any? It might increase.
Bless you.
More businesses, I believe your taxes should go down, don't it? The more revenue generated from business, property taxes go down?
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Oh, okay. All right. Appreciate
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from the audience that wants to express their opinion? If not, I'm going to go ahead and close this public hearing at 7:12. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Mr. the only thing I would say, and it's not a condition, but if you would consider just the hours of operation, I think that's a fair request. And I understand the need for people to get in and out. I think it's more than just, that. I think there's also noise factor, middle of the night, potentially could be a little rowdy. So if that, and again, it's not a condition, but if you would be kind enough to consider that. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you very much, and
Thank you,
good luck
sir.
to you.
Next, public hearing, consider an ordinance for the rezoning request from a single-family residence district to general business district of the west 165 feet of 2-acre tract of land out of west 10 acres of the north 12 acres of Lot 4, Block 35, Alamo Land and Sugar Company subdivisions located at 1307 Sergeant Leonel Trevino Road as requested by Aristeo Guzman. Mr. Cervantes.
Yes, Mr. Guzman is proposing to zone a portion of his two acres from single-family residence district to general business district zoning. The east 55 feet of his property is already zoned general business district. The applicant does not have any specific plans yet for the use of the property, but he would like it rezoned commercial to passively develop a commercial plaza in the future or to sell the property with commercial zoning. Staff recommends approval since the property is nearby to the corner of Sergeant Leonel Trevino and Cesar Chavez Roads. Both streets handle a high volume of daily traffic, which makes this property suitable for commercial development. During their November 20 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval unanimously.
I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing at 7:15. Are there any members of the audience who would like to express any concerns for or against? Any members of the public for or against? I'd like to open it up to the commission.
I just think that's a good idea. It's unfortunate, I guess when we did the master plan on the zoning, we basically just said so many feet, so I kind of clipped that one property. I think this will make it consistent, but I would assume that would also be the case for the property immediately to the south. It has, I guess, just that back portion.
The property to the south also got clipped, but that one, the majority is on commercial. So whenever that property develops, they're gonna have to come in and
do
request for
something
the
similar.
little strip to be zone
Right.
commercial.
I think maybe as we continue to do master planning and development, development zones, rather, we should probably take into consideration the property lines.
Yes.
So as to not clip properties that way. But that's all.
Mr. Cervantes, I know that road is part of our plan to one day expand, and the amount that they're wanting to put as part of that, are we going to make the consideration for the road and the easement to make that a wider road with the sidewalks and everything?
Yes, when they subdivide, they're gonna have to dedicate right away if the road is in the thoroughfare plan, build sidewalks, buffers, all of that happens during the subdivision. And then at the building permit, that's when we look at the parking, the landscaping.
And they know that they have nothing planned to do with it. The minute they change the zoning, their taxes are going to go up.
Actually, taxes are based more on construction, because at the appraisal district, they come in and they get a report from us once a year on all the building permits. And they never ask for a report on zonings. So it's my understanding that
For the rollback taxes, maybe.
The taxes are based more on construction. Whenever they build, that's when so in my opinion, their taxes should not increase because of the, but also the appraisal district, they look at sales. So if properties in the area start selling for high values, then they
Right.
change the values.
Right.
So it's based on construction and sales, not so much on zoning designations.
And the corner lot, the empty lot, it has a 300 feet, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, the corner lot is completely zoned.
okay.
Yeah.
Does that belong to them? It does not?
No, they're separate owners, but it could be one owner in the future,
That's-
which will be even
That's what it is. Okay.
more ideal.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I'd like to go ahead and close the hearing at 7:18. Is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Hold a public hearing and consider the ordinance for the special use permit for the sale and on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages at Tacos Kissy, located at 5004 North Raul Longoria Road, legally described as Lot 3, Mesquite Acres subdivisions, requested by Oscar R. Is it Kissy? Is that the right? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Kesey is requesting a special use permit for the sale and on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages at Tacos Kisi, the site of the former Cabrito San Miguel restaurant. Mr. Kisi would like to sell alcohol to complement the food served and is for on-premise consumption only. Proposed days and hours of operation for the restaurant are Monday to Sunday from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Staff inquired on police report, and we just had one incident about loud noise. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval unanimously.
I'd like to open this public hearing at 7:19. Are any comments from the public for or against? Any members of the public? Did you want to say something, ma'am? You can come forward and speak at this time if you wish.
Sorry?
Roman from Maldonado Business Services. I'm representing Mr. Kissy, and would just like to request that the permit be granted.
I guess I don't have, I know that we've already operated under a permit before, and there was some information regarding any previous calls. We don't seem to have had any problems out there when the first owner had the permit, or from the neighbors either, so you don't see any concerns? Okay.
The only thing I would just mention is that it would have the same conditions as the, that we've placed on all of these. And that's, we haven't done that in a way of an ordinance yet, have we? Hours of operation.
The beer and wine.
Beer and wine.
Yes.
Great.
Any other questions?
So I see here you're gonna open every day from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m.?
Correct.
Okay. No time to rest? I'm joking.
Hopefully they won't, because they'll be so
Hopefully not.
busy.
Hopefully.
No, that's good. That was my question.
All right, if there are no other further questions, I'd like to go ahead and close this public hearing at 7:21. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Mucha suerte.
Here.
Next item on the agenda, E, consider authorization to amend ordinance 10-02, an ordinance authorizing certain types of supplemental compensation categories identified in subchapter C, chapter 141, TLGC, and chapter 143, and providing criteria for eligibility thereon in the city's police fire department. Chief Garza.
Good evening. It was actually a grant to send 6 personnel to the fire investigator course. This is just preparing for the upcoming year, preparing for because they're not budgeted for this year. So I just want to get it amended and include the fire investigators, because in the previous one, it wasn't included. So I just want to include 6 positions for the fire investigators for the next fiscal year.
Include Officer Brian.
No, ma'am.
Do we need to do something special for him? Because I don't know the
No.
commission knows he's also an arson investigator as a police
What
officer.
transpired there, ma'am, he's one of our volunteers,
Okay,
and he chose to take the class on his own. But as far as, he has nothing, he's not going
He
to be
wouldn't be
tied.
part of this?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Only if he's available, like, let's say he's off duty with the PD, and if we need him to assist the actual investigator that we have right now, and if it's cleared through the chief, he can do it. But we don't have to do anything with him.
okay. And the rates these are the rates we've had for the past, is
That's
that
correct.
correct? Nothing's
Yes, ma'am.
changed on that?
No, ma'am. Everything's the same.
Okay,
It's just creating those
positions.
positions, ma'am.
okay. Is there any questions? If not, is there a motion for approval as presented?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, Chief.
Chief.
Item F, discussion of proposed ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances for Solid Waste, providing for the exclusive collection for commercial accounts and amending the commercial garbage collection rates. Mr. Gonzalez.
Commissioners.
I'd like to go ahead and have a motion to remove from table. Did we have it tabled last time?
Yes.
Is there a motion to remove?
So moved?
Is there a second? Second. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, Mr. Gonzalez.
I apologize, first of all, last week, I didn't get all the information that I needed, and it was coming in very slow. I just didn't want to present false numbers to you all last week, that's why I didn't do that. Today, I want to start with the base rate.
The complaints that I get the most is that we're charging our residents for a brush pickup, and in reality, we're not. As you can see on the base rate, I have the North Alamo.
Mr. Gonzalez, I'm just going to interrupt you real quickly to ask the Mayor Pro Tem a question. You had mentioned that you also wanted the cost analysis on these,
Yes.
before he delves into it, because I didn't see a cost analysis. I saw a comparison from the cities, and I know you're going to get into it, but we may end up having to come back and do it again, because I did hear him say,
That's a-
and I would agree with him on that.
Okay.
So one step more, if you want to go and maybe.
That way you don't have to
tell
do
him.
it twice. I mean, I don't,
Sure.
if that way you can get with Mr.
I was thinking
Gomez.
with,
Because I think you have the information here, but we'll be flipping back and forth a
forth.
little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Because you've done the comparisons, and so I think that you've only done the cost for the tipping fees, and you've provided what the cost is. But I think what the analysis would be, to be able to fully understand your establishing of the rates, is to say, okay, well, just like Mr. Gomez said, it costs us this much in labor and materials or in time, and this is what we're charging, and that's why we want to get to this, because some are going from $50, $60 to $400, and so that might not be the truth, but I saw something.
Right, no,
over
no, I
400,
understand.
So
And,
I'm going to ask, and I'm sure the members of the commission are going to ask, how did you get to that number, rather than just comparisons? Can we go ahead and do that analysis? And so.
Sure.
Before you delve into it, is it also the wish of the commission to go ahead and table to get that
I
done?
was going to say that we table it. I want to make sure that we continue to bring it back, because I think it's important that we pass this kind of an ordinance. We want to make sure that we're transparent with all the information.
Because there's a lot there, and
There's a lot,
I
yeah.
wanna-
And I
I want
wanna
to make
thank
sure
you
that we're on
because-
the same page, and I agree
Yeah.
with you all.
And I'd like to be able to get that with the package, so that we have time to review it, then just hit it first, right here at the commission, at the meeting. So if
Okay.
you can include it at the next, if you're ready by the next meeting in December, include it
Okay.
in the package so we have time to review it before we get.
I'll be ready by then, Mayor.
I appreciate that. Is there a
And thank
motion
you
to
for your work,
table?
because it looks like a lot. You
Okay,
put in a
yeah,
lot,
thank
so
you.
Thank you, Mike. So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Garza. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
It is tabled. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Under contractuals, number 7, A, consider authorization to submit application for fiscal year 2014 assistance to firefighters grant application. Chief Garza.
And just, your approval, Mayor and Commissioners, to proceed with the application for the funding for 2014 for the Assistant to Firefighter Grant through the FEMA.
Very good. Is there any questions? If not, is there a motion for approval? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, sir. B, consider adopting an interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of San Juan and North Alamo Water Supply Corporation. Mr. Gomez.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if I may. Mayor, I had a chance to speak to Mr. Gomez earlier today regarding this contract.
Okay.
There were a couple of items that I was concerned about, and we had suggested going ahead and requesting to pass it subject to legal review. However, I was looking at it again, and I have another issue, and I had a chance to speak to the lawyer, and he said he'll get back to me next week, the lawyer for the North Alamo. So my question, Mr. Gomez, is it okay if I do request that it get tabled today? Fine, that'd be fine. And it'll be ready for, I mean, that way I can have it ready for the next meeting, and I can address the issues that I have, because I found another issue with it today, right now, so.
Yeah, that'd be fine. We can table it and discuss it in the next meeting.
All right, thank you, Counsel. And Mr. Gomez, is there a motion to table?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Again, second by Commissioner Garza. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item under 8, consent agenda, approval of minutes, November 11, 2014, regular meeting, monthly collections report, October 31st, 2014. Consider canceling the regular scheduled meeting, commission meeting of December 23rd, 2014, and consider ratifying the proclamation proclaiming November 18th, 2014 as Comfort House Day. Are there any items that need to be pulled?
Just wanted to make a comment, Mayor.
Go ahead.
On the canceling of the December 23rd, it's been something that we've done in the past. The only thing that I would say is subject to calling a special call meeting for anything of urgent, anything that's pressing, that deadline-oriented is. I remember one year, we ended up having a meeting on the 29th because we had an urgent matter to vote on. So that was the only thing I wanted to say.
very good. I'm going to tender the corrections to Mr. Rodriguez.
Motion to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 9, executive session. The City of San Juan Commission will convene an executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Vernon's Texas statutes, and codes annotated Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement the meeting be open, Texas Government Code, Section 551.071B, consultation with Attorney A to discuss, provide legal advice, and counsel for a pending litigation relating to the City of San Juan, Texas versus Otto Hoffland et al. At C 4910-95C in the 139th Judicial District of Hidalgo County, Texas. We should enter executive session at 7:29. On the record, under an executive session, under item A, to discuss, provide legal advice and counsel from pending litigation relating to the City of San Juan, Texas versus Otto Hoffman et al., C 4910-95C, in the 139th Judicial District Court of Hidalgo County, Texas. Counsel?
No action at this time, Mayor.
All right. That being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And I looked at you.
What do we give it to this time? To Commissioner Ramirez. All in favor state aye. Aye. And this adjourned at 7:51.
Great minds think alike. That's right, that's right.